Hi, my name is Louise.
And hi, I'm Emma.
And you're listening to Murder or Myth,
the true crime podcast where not everything is true.
The aim of the game is to find out whether the story is actually a murder or if it's just a myth.
Now, let's get started. Hi, Louise.
Hi, Emma.
How are you doing?
Fine, how are you?
Good. We're on episode 56.
Yahoo!
Crazy.
Crazy.
Let's get into this murder story.
I'd love to.
Might
or
be
myth.
Real. Murder or myth story. This on the, dare we say the last murder specific one?
What?
Tune in to next week's episode to
Hear
find
more
out
about
more.
This.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into it. So, it was the 31st of December 1989 and the Volt nightclub situated on Santalo Street in Zona Alta in Barcelona. The Volt was holding its annual New Year's Eve party and had approximately 900 patrons on site. At around 11:45, reports of a fire began circulating around the building. Eyewitnesses reported that within 5 minutes, the entire bar area of the ground floor was enveloped in flames. A mass panic ensued with a rush of occupants making their way to the main exit. It wasn't until about 10 minutes later that the basement level floor was aware of the fire. Black smoke started appearing around the light fixtures in the ceiling, and shortly thereafter a fire was seen on the stairs. So those in the basement area tried to exit up a second stairway. Upon reaching the ground floor, they had to navigate the fire and bodies that had already amassed. The emergency services were alerted and on site quickly, however the fire had ripped through the building. In the end, 356 of the patrons were injured and 98 had died. Most of the casualties were found in the basement level of the nightclub. An investigation into the cause of the fire was initiated. Due to the extent of the fire, the police and the fire department involved had little evidence to work off. The burn pattern pointed to the fire starting on the ground floor. This was corroborated by the eyewitness accounts of survivors and passers-by. The departments investigated possibilities of accidental ignition and arson. The building had been renovated in the early 80s, having new electrical and gas lines installed. This fact, coupled with no obvious anomalies in the utility remnants, led to the investigation to follow the path of arson. The investigators pinpointed the fire origin to a service room behind the main bar. This area was staff only and contained a large store of spirits. Broken glass and charred wood were amongst the only evidence remaining in the room. No exact occurrence could be pinned for the fire origin. However, due to the location and testimony from experts in the field, the case went to court as arson. The court heard that the fire likely began by a discarded cigarette which smouldered and heating the high-proof alcohol in the ground of the storeroom. This would have led to a sudden igniting of the storeroom. The fire then spread across the ground floor, melting the flooring and catching the seating on fire. Hearing the evidence in the accounts from officials and witness, the judge ruled fire as arson. This ruling removed any liability from the nightclub owners. With no group accountable for the catastrophic events, victims' family appealed and requested further inquiries. So in 2005, an investigation found that the arson ruling was unfounded and utterly hypothetical by Judge Carmen Navarro. The inquest heard that the patrons and employees that night had no blame to bear. In 2009, for the 20-year anniversary, a monument was erected in Zona Alta to commemorate the victims of the Volt fire. The nightclub never reopened and was rebuilt into a restaurant after the fire. And that is the end.
Okay, very sad. A lot of people
Yeah.
killed. My inkling tells me it's a myth, but if it's a myth, it's very, very well written because there are no details that I could think of that wouldn't be logistical.
Okay.
The only thing that's telling me it's a myth is the fact that it's quite long, but there's still details left in.
In what
I don't know
sense?
why. So, like, emergency services called and quickly arrived. Like, if it's such a long story, I feel like you kind of leave out that they quickly arrived. And then also
you're getting this is a long story. Like, it was 4 minutes, if even.
I don't know. It just feels longer than my ones, maybe.
Real.
That's just subjective, I guess. And then details on the judge, like you gave the judge's name and things like that. Whereas I feel like if you're writing a murder, it goes off like, whenever I'm writing a murder that has a load of details to it, like it's a really big case, I'll kind of just pick out the bits that are kind of most important to the story, I guess. So I wouldn't go into like when the emergency services are called and like that they arrived quickly. That was just like one part that I wrote down. There was one or two other bits that I just thought were like extra details. So, yeah, maybe the judge's name. I don't know why. Just that it was ruled by the judges, and then you gave her name.
Interesting. Okay.
But there's also was a lot to the story, so I guess that just made it a naturally longer story. So that could just be
interesting,
like rubbish. Like I don't know. But for that reason, I'm going to say myth.
You're going to say myth. Okay. It was a myth. And I'm slightly annoyed because I literally, like, I followed a real story, and like when there's inquests and stuff, rulings different to what it originally occurred, they do say the people's names. Yeah. They have to tell you who it was.
That's super fair.
Anyways.
But did they say the emergency services were called and that they arrived quickly?
Yeah, like they were on the scene quickly. Like, okay, I was following Stardust. You know that happened in Dublin.
Yeah.
Okay, that like disaster that like people like got like basically trapped in a nightclub when a fire occurred, and like it named all the emergency service that came to the place. It like said the times and stuff, and I was like, I can't do too many times. I only done one time, just because I like we always do the myths, the times catch up. Yeah. I had a quote there, which I actually didn't say was a quote, but
just because the quotes always get you. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm really sorry.
I just really tried. No, it's so fair.
You did really try. It was a really good story.
It's just like you can't win sometimes. Some things you're just you would. Well done.
You guessed my myth in the last episode.
Yeah, that's so true. But I was just like, I have this one. Didn't.
Yeah, I know. I do feel a bit bad about that. Like, it was very well written, and there was clearly a lot of time put into it. Like, there's a lot of details.
It's okay. I'm fine. Thanks, though. Yeah. Just, yeah.
Gold star to you.
Thank you. I'll take that on board. Yeah, not great stories, but yeah, I didn't like that. No more than yours. I didn't want to just have like someone kill someone else. This was kind of an accident, but
not a great way to finish out the podcast.
It's such a great way to finish out the podcast. Not finish it out. Pivot. Start anew.
Let's wrap it up here.
Change. Okay.
Thanks for listening. Make sure to like and subscribe.
On this week's episode, Louise correctly guessed my myth was in fact a myth.
Find us on all streaming platforms.
Join us next week for another thrilling adventure.
Remember, it's myth until proven murder.
Slay.